Let me ask you a question, and don't answer it out loud. Answer it honestly. What if I told you that the reason your life hasn't changed yet has nothing to do with your talent, nothing to do with your background, and nothing to do with your luck, but everything to do with where your focus has been spending its time? Think about this for a second. You wake up every day with dreams bigger than your bank account. You carry ideas that could change your family's future. You know deep down you were meant for more. So why does it still feel like you're running in place? Here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. You've been giving your best energy to things that don't give you a return. You've been explaining your vision to people who don't see it. You've been reacting to noise instead of building your life. And while you've been busy watching what everybody else is doing, life has been quietly asking you one question every single day. When are you going to focus on you? See, focus is dangerous because the moment you focus, excuses start dying, distractions lose their power, and the version of you that's been hiding behind comfort gets exposed. That's why most people avoid it. They'll scroll for hours, but won't sit with themselves for 10 minutes. They'll talk about success, but won't sacrifice convenience. They'll clap for others, but won't commit to their own growth. And here's what should wake you up tonight. 2026 is not a motivational quote. It's a deadline. A deadline for the old habits you keep recycling. A deadline for the fear you keep dressing up as patience. A deadline for the version of you that keeps saying one day instead of today. Because one day isn't a day on the calendar. And waiting is not a strategy. If you don't make a decision to focus on yourself now, life will make one for you later. And trust me, you won't like the terms. So before this year runs out, before time collects another 12 months from you, before you look back and realize you were busy everywhere except where it mattered, it's time to get selfish with your growth. It's time to get quiet. It's time to stop chasing attention and start chasing alignment. Because the next version of your life doesn't need more motivation. It needs your full, undivided focus. Most people are afraid of isolation because they confuse it with loneliness. They think being alone means being abandoned, forgotten, or falling behind. But the truth is, isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. Every meaningful transformation in life requires a season where you step away from noise, distractions, and unnecessary access to you. You don't level up in a crowd. You don't discover your true strength while everybody is talking in your ear. Growth needs silence. Growth needs space. When you isolate yourself with intention, you're not running from people. You're running toward clarity. You finally get to hear your own thoughts without interruption. You start recognizing which voices were guiding you and which ones were controlling you. Some people don't want you to grow. They want you to stay familiar. They like the version of you that's predictable, available, and comfortable. Isolation disrupts that comfort. It forces you to confront who you really are when there's no applause, no validation, and no one to lean on. Think about this. Every major upgrade in life happens behind the scenes. You never see the hours of training before the championship. You never see the late nights before the breakthrough. You only see the finished product and call it luck. But luck is just preparation meeting opportunity. And preparation happens in isolation. That quiet season where it feels like nobody's calling, nobody's checking on you, and nobody understands you, that's not a setback. That's the workshop. Isolation teaches you discipline. When no one is watching, your habits are exposed. You either do the work or you don't. There's no one to impress, no one to compete with, no one to blame. And that's where real strength is built. Because if you can stay consistent without an audience, you're dangerous. You no longer need external motivation. You become self-driven. You stop waiting for permission. You move with purpose. A lot of people say they want peace, but they keep inviting chaos into their lives. They answer every call, attend every event, entertain every opinion, and then wonder why they're exhausted and unfocused. Isolation is how you protect your energy. It's how you create boundaries. It's how you stop leaking potential. Not everyone deserves access to you during your becoming. Some people will only slow you down, distract you, or drain you, and they won't even realize they're doing it. Here's another hard truth. Isolation reveals who was only there for convenience. When you stop showing up everywhere, some people disappear. And that hurts, but it also heals, because now you know who values you beyond what you provide. You learn that some connections were built on availability, not alignment. Isolation clears the room so the right people can find you later. Preparation is uncomfortable. It challenges your patience. It tests your faith. It makes you question yourself. But that pressure is necessary. Just like a seed has to be buried in darkness before it grows, you have to go through a phase where nobody sees what's happening underground. You're not buried, you're planted. And what you're becoming needs time away from the surface. Before 2026, this season of isolation might be the most important decision you make. Because if you don't separate yourself intentionally, life will do it for you through failure, burnout, or regret. Isolation on your terms builds strength. Isolation forced on you breaks people. So don't rush this phase. Don't explain it to people who won't understand. Don't feel guilty for choosing yourself. You're not disappearing. You're preparing. And when you come back, you won't have to announce it. Your growth will introduce you. At some point in your life, you have to realize that explaining yourself to the wrong people is one of the biggest ways you drain your own power. Every time you feel the need to justify your vision, your pace, your choices, or your growth to people who aren't invested in your future, you're handing them authority they never earned. Not everyone deserves an explanation, especially when they don't contribute to where you're going. Here's the truth most people learn too late. People who don't fund your dreams will rarely understand them. They don't see what you see because they're not paying the price you're paying. They're not waking up early, staying up late, sacrificing comfort, or risking failure. So when you try to make them understand, all you're really doing is seeking permission from people who have no stake in your destiny. And that's dangerous. The moment you start explaining yourself too much, doubt creeps in. You start second-guessing decisions that were once clear. You start shrinking your goals to sound more reasonable. You start adjusting your timeline to fit someone else's comfort. And slowly, without realizing it, your dream gets watered down, not because it wasn't possible, but because you kept exposing it to people who couldn't handle its size. Most opinions are not wisdom, they're projections. People judge your vision based on their limitations, their fears, and their past failures. When they say, be realistic, what they're really saying is, that didn't work for me. When they say, slow down, what they mean is, your growth makes me uncomfortable. And when they say, why can't you just be normal? They're really asking you not to remind them of what they gave up on. You don't owe clarity to confusion. You don't owe access to everyone. And you definitely don't owe explanations to people who disappear when things get hard. The only people who deserve insight into your plans are the ones who support you, invest in you, guide you, or walk with you through the process. Everybody else gets results. Let your success speak. Let your consistency do the talking. There's also a hidden cost to over-explaining. It keeps you emotionally tied to approval. You start measuring your progress based on how people react instead of how far you've come. You celebrate less because someone didn't clap. You hesitate because someone questioned you. That's how dreams get delayed, not by failure, but by fear of judgment. Strong people move in silence. Not because they're arrogant, but because they understand timing. A vision shared too early becomes vulnerable. When something is still growing, it needs protection, not exposure. You don't dig up a seed every day to see if it's growing. You let it do its work underground. The same goes for your plans. Stop announcing them to people who won't help water them. If someone isn't contributing resources, knowledge, opportunities, encouragement, or accountability, their opinion is optional. That doesn't make you rude. It makes you focused. Respect doesn't require over-explaining. Boundaries don't require permission. And confidence doesn't require validation. Before 2026, make this decision. Stop auditioning for approval. Stop defending your pace. Stop explaining why you're changing. The people meant to be in your next chapter won't need a long explanation. They'll recognize the growth. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to go with you anyway. Protect your vision. Move with intention. And remember, these people who don't fund your dreams don't get to manage them. Motivation is exciting, but it's unreliable. It shows up when things feel good, when the music is right, when the speech hits hard, when the vision feels fresh. But discipline shows up when none of that is there. And that's why discipline will take you places motivation never can. Motivation talks. Discipline works. Most people are waiting to feel ready before they act. They're waiting for confidence, for clarity, for the perfect moment. Discipline doesn't wait. Discipline moves even when fear is present. Discipline moves when you're tired, when you're bored, when nobody is watching, and when progress feels invisible. That's the difference between people who change their lives and people who just talk about it. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. One bad day can kill it. One failure can silence it. One criticism can shake it. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. It's something you choose long before results show up. It's not about how you feel. It's about what you do repeatedly. And life doesn't reward intention. It rewards consistency. Think about this. Every successful person you admire has mastered the ability to do boring things well. They don't rely on hype to get started. They rely on structure. They rely on habits. They rely on systems they follow even when they don't feel like it. That's why they win when others quit. While most people stop when motivation fades, disciplined people keep going, and that's where the gap is created. Discipline builds self-trust. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable, you send a message to yourself, I can be counted on. That confidence doesn't come from affirmations, it comes from action. And the more you keep promises to yourself, the stronger you become mentally. You stop needing external encouragement because you become your own proof. The problem is discipline isn't glamorous. Nobody claps for it. Nobody sees the early mornings, the late nights, the repetition, the sacrifice. Discipline requires you to say no to distractions, to comfort, to instant gratification. It requires you to trade what you want now for what you want most. And that trade-off is where most people fail. Motivation will tell you, take a break, you deserve it. Discipline will ask, does this align with where I'm going? Motivation will tell you, you can start tomorrow. Discipline says, if not now, when? Motivation looks for inspiration. Discipline creates progress. Before 2026, this is what you need to understand. Talent without discipline is wasted potential. Dreams without discipline are fantasies. Goals without discipline are just wishes. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're supposed to become. You don't need to feel motivated to change your life. You need to be disciplined enough to act even when you don't feel like it. Because the days you don't feel like showing up are the days that matter most. Those are the days that separate the committed from the curious. If you build discipline now, daily, quietly, consistently, your future self will thank you. Because when motivation runs out, discipline will still be there, carrying you forward. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they get distracted chasing applause instead of developing their gift. Applause feels good, but it's temporary. It feeds your ego, not your future. Focus, on the other hand, is quiet, uncomfortable, and often lonely, but it's the only thing that allows your gift to mature into something powerful. Your gift was never meant to be validated by everyone. In fact, the more unique your gift is, the more misunderstood it will be in the beginning. That's why seeking approval too early is dangerous. When you perform for applause, you start adjusting your gift to fit the crowd instead of sharpening it to its full potential. You start doing what's popular instead of what's purposeful, and slowly your gift loses its edge. Focus is what protects your gift. Focus keeps you consistent when no one is cheering. Focus keeps you committed when progress is slow. Focus allows you to work on your craft without announcing every step. Some things need time in private before they can survive in public. Exposure before preparation can ruin a gift. That's why so many people quit, not because they weren't good enough, but because they were seen too soon and judged too early. Applause can also make you lazy. When people clap for potential instead of results, you start confusing praise with progress. You start thinking you've arrived when you've barely begun. Focus forces you to face your weaknesses, your gaps, and your limitations. It pushes you to practice, to study, to refine. And that work is never glamorous. There will be times when you feel invisible, times when you're putting in effort and nobody notices. That's not a sign to stop, it's a sign to go deeper. Your gift is being strengthened in those moments. The strongest foundations are built where no one can see them. If you can stay committed when recognition is absent, you're building something real. Another truth most people avoid: not everyone deserves access to your gift. Some people will only consume it without contributing anything back. Others will criticize it without understanding the work behind it. Focus teaches you discernment. It helps you decide when to share and when to stay silent. Silence doesn't mean insecurity, it means strategy. Before 2026, you need to stop performing for approval and start preparing for impact. Impact lasts longer than applause. Applause fades the moment the noise stops. Impact continues working even when you're not in the room. If you pour your energy into being liked, you'll never have enough left to be great. Your gift needs consistency more than compliments. It needs discipline more than attention. It needs patience more than validation. And the more you focus on the work instead of the reaction, the stronger your gift becomes. Eventually, the results will speak louder than any applause ever could. Stay focused. Stay committed. Let your gift grow in silence. When it's ready, the world will feel it, without you having to ask for permission or praise. Time is moving whether you're ready or not. It doesn't pause because you're confused. It doesn't slow down because you're afraid. And it doesn't care how many plans you've made but never acted on. If you don't change before 2026, time will change you, and not in a way you get to control. A lot of people think staying the same is safe. They believe that if they don't take risks, they won't get hurt. But the truth is, stagnation is one of the most dangerous places you can stand. While you're hesitating, time is collecting interest on your inaction. Missed opportunities pile up. Habits harden. Comfort zones turn into cages. And one day you wake up wondering how life passed you by so quietly. Change is uncomfortable, but regret is heavier. Change demands effort, discipline, and accountability. Regret demands nothing at first, but it takes everything later. It steals your confidence, your peace, and your belief in yourself. That's why the decision to change must be intentional, because if you don't choose growth, life will choose consequences. Every year that passes without improvement doesn't leave you where you are. It pulls you backward. Skills become outdated. Energy fades. Responsibilities increase. What was easy to start at 20 becomes harder at 30. What was manageable at 30 becomes overwhelming at 40. Time doesn't just move forward, it raises the price of change. Before 2026, you have a window to break habits that are costing you, a window to build discipline instead of excuses, a window to invest in yourself before life demands more from you than you're prepared to give. Waiting doesn't make things clearer, it makes them heavier. Time will expose everything you've been avoiding: the lack of focus, the lack of consistency, the lack of courage. You can ignore these things now, but you'll pay for them later with stress, frustration, and unrealized potential. And the hardest part, knowing you had the ability to change but didn't. Change doesn't mean perfection. It means direction. Small decisions made daily compound into massive outcomes. You don't need a complete life overhaul overnight. You need commitment. You need honesty. You need to stop lying to yourself about someday and start acting on now. Life doesn't reward intention, it rewards action. And time is the ultimate auditor. It reveals who is serious and who is comfortable. When 2026 arrives, it won't ask what you plan to do. It will show you what you actually did. So let this be the moment you stop negotiating with your potential. Stop delaying the work you know you need to do. Choose growth while you still have control over the process. Because if you don't change before 2026, time will change you, and the version it creates may not be one you recognize or respect. So here's the truth you can't ignore anymore. Nothing changes unless you do. Not the calendar, not the year, not the people around you. Change doesn't arrive with fireworks on January 1st. It arrives quietly the moment you decide to take responsibility for your life. You've heard the message. You know what needs to be fixed. You know what habits are holding you back. You know which distractions are stealing your time, your energy, and your future. What you do next will decide everything. Because 2026 is coming no matter what. The question is not if it will arrive. The question is, who will you be when it does? Will you be stronger or still making excuses? More focused or still distracted by noise? Disciplined or still waiting for motivation? This is your moment to stop watching life happen and start building it. To stop explaining yourself. To stop chasing applause. To stop delaying the work that will change your future. Focus on yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of survival. Get serious. Get consistent. Get uncomfortable. Because the version of you that shows up in 2026 is being created right now by what you do today, by what you tolerate, and by what you refuse to change. Make the decision, lock in, and don't look back. Your future is watching.